We are today at Budleigh Salterton. Budleigh Salterton is a seaside town with a beach that is, I would say, world famous for its stones. The stones on this beach are all very well worn and rounded pebbles or cobbles, known as Budleigh Buns. Let me show you some examples of Budleigh Buns. So, let me get. All right, you go and do your thing. Of course, Stones Beach either, but yeah, Budleigh Buns, so called because, well, there's a good example. They're all shaped kind of flattened discoid shape. You can see why that would be called a bun, wouldn't you? But it's not just that, it's because they're all different colours and different compositions. Chiefly quartzite and sandstone, but there are some granitoids and porphyritic granites and things like that in there as well. And we've got some quartz there. And that's a kind of, I don't know, brecciated quartzite or something like that, by the look of it. Just also found a scallop shell with a encrusting sponge on it. I'll put that back in the sea. But yeah, there's just some very beautiful rocks here. There's a piece of quartz with some iron staining. So we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at the rocks on the beach here. Yeah, so I thought for a moment when I saw that, I thought maybe that's a scallop that somebody had bought at the seafood stall or something and then eaten on the beach, but that's come straight out of the sea because that thing on it and there is an encrusting sponge. See, it's a kind of wobbly thing. We'll chuck that back in the sea on the off chance that sponge is still alive. So, very beautiful rocks here, and we'll spend some time looking at a few of them. I'm not collecting them for tumbling. They probably wouldn't tumble all that well anyway, most of them, but also it is against the law to collect the rocks from this beach. Well, from beaches in general, but especially here, there are bylaws that will fine you for stealing the rocks from the beach, and people have been fined thousands of pounds for collecting and taking home the rocks from the beach. So yeah, I don't know what that is. That looks like it might be slightly porphyritic. Porphyry being the kind of larger crystals in a igneous rock. The slower it cools, the bigger the crystals. There's a piece of sandstone with some veins, some calcite or quartz veins. That's a piece of, well, possibly sandstone, possibly quartzite. It's a similar sort of thing. It was once sand, distinct from quartz because it didn't grow as crystals. It was compressed and then cemented sand. So, mottled appearance on that one. The redder bits will probably be iron. We've got greenish sort of looking rocks here, but again, that's a sandstone. And that one's perhaps I think the black bits might be basalt. But then it's been all broken up. I don't know whether this is a breccia or a conglomerate. Geologists, please do chime in and correct any of my descriptions. I welcome your corrections today. I'm not a geologist. I'm just a guide on the beach picking up rocks and going, ooh, ah. So, yeah, don't know what that one is, but feel free to let me know. Could be a kind of basalt, but it looks like it's been broken up and then re-cemented with, well, I would say quartz, because calcite would tend to be undercut in a harder rock like this. And if we go down here to the actual shoreline, to the surf zone, we get to see the rocks in a different light, because obviously wetting them like this, you get to see their proper colours. We've got quite a green one there. And this is where we're more likely to see the actual quartz pieces as well, because when they're wet they're quite transparent. That is not a quartz rock, that's a jellyfish. I'm afraid I'm not going to try and help that get back in the sea. I don't know enough about jellyfish to know that that one's not going to sting me. It's probably not alive anyway. Of course, we're on a beach with rocks, and Eva is absolutely in her element, rescuing rocks from the sea. That's an interesting one there. I would say that's a piece of waxy chalcedony, but it's an unusual colour. They've got a very smooth, kind of waxy feel to it. It's not actually waxy, it's just got that kind of smoothness. Another jellyfish there. I mean, you can see why people might be tempted to take these rocks as souvenirs of their stay here, but as I say, it is forbidden. And we don't want trouble. So this part of the beach, dogs are permitted on. Once we get sort of past those beach huts there, dogs not permitted on the beach in this time of year, unfortunately. So we're going to have a wander up this end with Eva, enjoy the Budleigh Buns. That looks like it might be a very colourful one when we get it wet. So let's just take it down here, allow it to get wet, wait for a wave. Okay, well, slightly bigger wave, there we go, there we go. Right, okay. Yeah, so there are little patches of gold and yellow, sort of slightly translucent seams of quartz, or, yeah, I'm assuming that's quartz, not calcite. Yeah, interesting. But aren't they beautiful? Well, there's an interesting one, because that's a piece of a kind of a granitoid on the top there. There's something else underneath. So that was from an interface between granite and basalt, maybe? Or perhaps that's been an intrusion of some other mineral. Like I say, let me know if you know what any of these rocks actually are. So there's a piece of quartz rather than quartzite, because that's got some transparency to it. So this is actually polycrystalline quartz. This is quartz crystals that have grown together to form this rock, rather than the majority of the rocks on this beach are quartzite, which is still quartz crystals but in the form of sand that's been compacted and then cemented together and then weathered out as rocks. Not seeing much in the way of seashells apart from that scallop. But then on a rocky beach like this, seashells, once they're vacated and they wash up on the shore, would not last very long amongst all these rocks. They kind of get smashed up quite quickly and turn into the sand. Whoop, nearly got wet then. There's a piece of quartzite with some veins. Don't allow that to get wet. Have another look at it. There we go. So yeah, here we go, Budleigh Salterton. Budleigh Salterton, and over there, obviously that's a very different piece of geology over there. There's a lot of this around the River Exe valley, this red soil. It's either red rocks or red soil or red clays. Again, red most likely indicating a concentration of iron. There's a piece of quartz, polycrystalline quartz, which would probably tumble quite nicely. Slight greenish hue to it and some red veining. That would probably come out of the tumbler looking quite nice. But yeah, like I say, we're not taking the rocks today. Not even one. Right, I've been standing here wittering. Got some catching up to do. Jenny and Eva are way over there. Let's go and see what they've discovered. So up at this end of the beach, a lot of much larger boulders, almost, some of them. With smaller rocks packed down underneath them. That's very heavy for its size. So I think that's going to be a piece of some sort of igneous material. Basalt maybe. A few chunks of it around there. In fact, quite a few chunks of that appearing at this end of the beach. This waterway here is the mouth of the River Otter. Hey, dog. Hey, Eva. What you doing? What about this one? Go and rescue it. Of course you can't smell it now. She's splashing in the water like a real dog. You alright, doggo? You having a good time? Not normally a fan of the water, but she's having a go today. Jenny's found some things. Eva, quiet! A couple of pieces of crab shell. These are from edible crabs. We've got a couple of whelk shells, quite worn down, and the top half of a scallop. Nice. Yeah, I found the bottom half of one of those, but it had an encrusting sponge on it.
Oh.
So some of the quartzite pebbles apparently have fossils in them. I haven't seen any, but some of them do have fossils from the Ordovician era, which is super early. I think 450 million years ago, something like that. But I haven't seen any quartzite rocks with fossils in them. I'm not sure I know exactly what I'm looking for in that regard. You still got a stone? Good girl, okay. Right, well, we'll have a look up here on the strand line and see if we've got some interesting flotsam to look out for. And there's another piece of crab there, crab claw. And another one there. It's the crab's claw. Yeah, I'm not sure if the crab shells might be discard from people who've bought a crab to eat, and you know, cooked crab, they've eaten it on the beach and just tossed the shells away. I don't suppose that's the worst kind of litter since it came out of the sea anyway, but yeah, there's another one there.
Yeah,
Pieces of crab shell. So actually, but we're finding the claws, so I suppose if people had bought a crab to eat, they'd have bought a dressed crab, which would just be the meat inside the shell. So most likely not, but most likely these are naturally occurring. There's another piece of crab shell there. Always think it looks a bit like a pie. Maybe that's just that I've got a pie fixation. In fact, I could eat a pie right now. So there's an unusual specimen for this beach. That's a piece of flint. So it's a flint nodule. Back on the beaches nearer home, that would be the most common stone there. But here at Budleigh Salterton, the most common rocks are the quartzite. And look at this one. It's a really pretty one. How about that? It's got almost like a dendritic fractal pattern on it. Very, very beautiful that is. I'm going to get a close-up photo of that one so we can enjoy it after we've gone from this place. So there we are. That's what they look like when they're wetted a little bit. So there's a piece of stripy sandstone there. There's that piece of quartzite with dendritic patterns in it. And that's a piece of porphyritic something or other. So that's an igneous rock. And those chunks of stuff in there are most likely crystals that grew, I don't know, that could be fragments of something that's been cemented, but it looks like those are, certainly that one there looks like a crystal, porphyritic crystals. Yeah, they've got these sort of quadrilateral sort of shape to them. One there, one there. So that's a piece of porphyritic basalt, maybe, I don't know. Another one there with some dendritic patterns in red iron staining, and then a nice stripy one here. They really are beautiful and incredibly varied. So there's a piece of, well, I would say quartzite that's been broken up and then had veins of a different material go through it. Well worth coming here just to see the rocks. Don't you agree, Eva? Yeah. I mean, look at that. Oh, Eva, shut up. You go play with that one. Well worth a trip here just to see the rocks. So pretty. Of course, we didn't come all the way here from home. We are on the way back from our holiday in Brixham, which is over there somewhere. So this is kind of on a slight diversion from the route home, but well worth going off track to have a look and see what we could find here. Interesting. Now we did find some rocks of this type on Chesil Beach, and so Budleigh Salterton quartzite pebbles are found all the way along as far as Weymouth, and it's a bit of an unknown where they came from, whether they actually were transported from this deposit, transported by longshore drift or glaciers or whatever, or whether there is another outcropping of the same mineral, which is not unlikely, and those might have been deposited there separately, but similar rocks. What are you eating, Eva? Is it a good idea for you to eat crab shells?
Probably not.
So the actual town of Budleigh Salterton is way over there in that valley, and it kind of extends off in that direction along a couple of roads. So quite a walk from the beach to the town, or from this bit of the beach to the town. But we're going to wander up there in a minute, see if we can find ourselves a pasty, or for some reason I want to eat a pie. And then maybe wander back down here and eat our food on the beach. But I just can't get enough of these rocks. Look at this. So, kind of mottled one there, one with stripes that are also kind of mottled. This one's got some seams running through it. Just incredibly beautiful rocks. Budleigh Buns. That one's definitely a conglomerate, similar to a pudding stone, but different kind of composition. So you can see something's popped out there. A rounded pebble has popped out. Couple of things to look at here. Here's a rock that's kind of half mudstone and half quartzite, or possibly polycrystalline quartz, divided very neatly in half into two different minerals, but in the same pebble. And this, I know what this is. This is the thickest part of a slipper limpet shell that's been polished and worn down. I know this because we found this on beaches back in the Southampton area, or actually the Portsmouth area, or Chichester area. West Wittering or East Wittering was littered with these pieces of highly polished slipper limpet. Now the reason this is the shape it is this is the thickest part of the shell, and so all of the thinner parts of the shell have broken off and worn away, and this is the bit that's most likely to survive. And so if you go to a beach where there are a lot of slipper limpets and there's a lot of other rocks and some serious sort of agitation to polish those all away, you'll find these in great number. Here's one with a tiny little sparkle in it. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. A couple of little sparkly dots in there. I wonder what that is. So we're going to have a little wander into town now, find ourselves some sustenance. I can't stop being wowed by these beautiful pebbles though. When we walk along the bigger pebbles here, the actual Budleigh Buns along the top of this bank here, there's this kind of chirping sound that the pebbles make when they grind together. Okay, this is interesting. You'll find this interesting, I think. These marks in the cliff, the vertical lines, are what they call rhizocretions. So this is where a plant has grown a taproot down into the soil, and then when the plant's died and rotted away, it's left a void that other minerals have flowed into. So those vertical lines in this cliff here are called rhizocretions, from the Triassic period, apparently. Interesting. So this is the town of Budleigh Salterton. We're just going to have a wander up here. We might have a little mooch in the shops. See if we can find a bakery to sell us a pie for lunch. Well, we couldn't find a bakery that's open because it's Sunday, but we went here for lunch. The Budleigh Village Emporium and Cafe, and it's fantastic. I had a bacon, egg and sausage bap and it was superb. 2 fried eggs in it. And there's an antique shop out the back. So I actually picked up a couple of books I wish I'd had at the start of our holiday. So there we go. If you're visiting Budleigh Salterton, I thoroughly recommend this little cafe. So I hope you've enjoyed joining us on this trip to Budleigh Salterton today to look at the Budleigh Buns. I hope this has been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.